quickly before we do, let's just give a quick intro about who we are, because some of you joining today won't know who Sentrian is. So just really briefly, we're one of Australia's MSPs here, or tech service partners, who specialize in sort of mid-market companies, and we have hundreds of clients, operate all around Australia with headquarters in Brisbane, but often do events around Sydney and Melbourne as well. So and yeah, we've been going through since 1992 as well. And more recently, as with everyone else as well, we've been getting much deeper into the AI, and this is one of our AI webinar series. So without further ado, I would like to introduce today's special guest. Her short name is Jaeden, and she's from Microsoft and one of the business solutions leads for ANZ, specializing particularly in that SME market as well, which many of you are very familiar with. So welcome, Jaeden, and over to you.
Thank you very much, John. And I'm very happy to be able to be part of this series. So thank you so much for the invitation. Just want to check that you're seeing the content good and everything is flowing. But yeah, I mean, I am super excited for today's session. I know there is a lot of interest and hype on AI. As John was saying, I lead our AI solutions for Microsoft across our small and medium business segment in ANZ, so Australia and New Zealand, and we are learning a lot. I cannot tell you the speed of how this market is changing and how these solutions are also changing. Like just keeping abreast of the changes, even on a daily basis, it will be just a job in itself. So I cannot tell you how busy I am. All right, so let's kick it off and let's go into a few of the things that we are learning and observing as we are evolving into what we define our transformation. What are going to be the companies of the future? And look, when I talk to customers like yourself, I like to understand where you are in the journey, right? Some of you might join us and are quite advanced, and you were maybe hoping to get a bit more specific solution or conversation around what is stopping you to go to the next phase on AI transformation. And some of you are kind of like, hey, I'm starting. Some of you might be CEOs, some of you might be CFOs, CSIOs, like, different responsibilities and roles across the organization, or you're just a champion of AI, that you just want your company to really infuse AI and you're seeing how they are not doing it and it's doing your head in because you obviously can see what is the potential and how your competitors are doing it. So look, I think it is important that you keep us the feedback or the questions in the chat so we can address them. And what I'm going to talk today is more about what we are seeing in some of the opportunities I see and how we can quickly, take some actions to help us continue in that journey of AI. And look, I like by starting on what I have observed, because a lot of the things I'm going to talk today is what we're envisioning companies to really, really start doing. And for us in Microsoft, really embrace that frontier transformation framework, which I will talk in a second what that means if you're not familiar. But one of the things that I've shared with a few customers and partners at Microsoft is I just came back from maternity leave. Well, just came back. It's now 9 months. And I remember my first day back after maternity leave, talking to one of my very good friends. Hey, what does this mean of this changing program? Like I had some question, right? And he's like, hey, I'm busy right now. I'm in customer meetings all day, but feel free to talk to my agent. It has all the new changes and new programs that we have implemented this year. And I was like, oh, okay, that's how we do it. We talk to agents, right? So what I'm going to express with that example is how much it had changed, versus before I went on maternity leave, where we were just talking. It was chat, web-based on interaction with your AI, to now really be able to be a very specific building agents to where we are right now in wave 3 of AI, where now we have agents that are able to do multi-steps, right? So anyway, that's a quick kind of like snapshot of what I observe even myself coming back into the workforce and how things are changing. So now in terms of like, and I like to look, I cannot see the chat here, but I like us to pose I like to pose a question and give some time for you to think, what will be the biggest AI, biggest challenges for you to adopt AI today? What are we seeing across Australia and New Zealand? What are the biggest 3 challenges that companies experience to implement AI? I'm not sure if you're interacting in the chat window, but feel free to post your question, your comments. John, are you monitoring the chat? Is anyone engaging? Is anyone saying anything?
Yes, lots of chats. Just give me a second. I'll wait for them to flow through.
Can you read them aloud? What could be?
Sure. Casey, is there any that come through yet? I mean, I can start. Well, people may have a little chance to go to the chat and give us our challenges, but I know one that comes up a lot with our clients because we deal with a lot of law and finance firms that have very strict security requirements.
Yes.
The biggest preventer sometimes is around just trying to get access to use it or get it internally sanctioned so they can use it for certain things, and the complexities around if a person has access to that data or not, and all the permissions, and we know when we're rolling out some of these programs that's super complex sometimes. So actually we have a question right here that I'm just going to read out. Just give me 1 second. The resources to build our team. We need resources to free me up to build our own in-house AI harnesses, etc. So I think it's about team resources so they can actually do this themselves. So it's a resource constraint, perhaps.
Yes, that's yeah. So I think you touch on number 2, number 3. So I think the resources is like that skill set shortage. Number 2, we're seeing is kind of that data guardrails and compliance. And the number 1 thing we're seeing is the cost, obviously, or upfront investment. You always need to, and I think this one is kind of like how I am seeing my return on investment versus the cost that I need to implement, right? So I think those 3 are the biggest challenges, right? Like security, cost, and skill set within your organization or even outside the organization, right? And on the other hand, we're seeing, kind of like what are those companies that are really able to be successful in our AI era. And by the way, we release every year our work trend index. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's our annual report. The FY26 report had it was across 20,000, I will say, different data points of personas, people actually completing the survey, as well as I think it was 3 trillion different signals from our obviously usage and usability on Frontier. So if you want more details around that work trend index, I'm happy to send a link so that you can consume it on your own time on what is what is on demand. But one of the things that we are seeing is not is that rise on on agentic. So 79% of companies or SMBs that responded really see that agentic era coming up now. We see that 65% of leaders are really feeling the pain because they feel that they're going to be feeling behind. And we are seeing those who are, in our ecosystem, of the SMBs, we are seeing that they are growing on agents 15 times. So just to leverage on that example, right, that I told you at the beginning of, hey, that's me coming back from mat leave, not knowing much, and suddenly talking to an agent, which I love. Soon after that week where you are just in the sweet spot coming back, soon I start back into the machine, right? Going very busy, being in back-to-back meetings. And I was struggling. Because the output I was receiving, it was like nothing I've seen before, right? I got a lot, not only a lot of emails, but a lot of chats and a lot of things that I had to review and a lot of and I was like, wow, every day I was like, well, exhausted. And I thought, oh, well, this is because I'm back. Let me give me 1 week or 2 weeks, now a month, 2 months, 3 months. And it was not only until I managed to have some time off where I managed to say, okay, well, that's it. I need to create agents to survive and be able to consume all the output that I was, getting. And now I'm able to do my job. Now I will not be able to do my job without 5 consistent agents that I've created. By the way, I fail as well. I created some agents that were a disaster. It didn't work for me, and it was just very frustrating. But I also created other agents that have really helped me. I also evolved some agents, and I also disregarded some agents that do the job, and now I leverage what other colleagues of mine have developed, which are actually helping. So what I'm trying to say is that, it's an evolving thing, and AI changes really quickly, but that agentic momentum is something that is real, and we're seeing it on the market. Look, this is the framework. If you never heard what is that frontier framework, we see, hey, what are the future companies going to have to be able to be successful in this area of AI and how they need to evolve. I think I already talked about employee experience, so make sure that you provide AI to your employees. That's one. But also how you're changing your customer engagement. Things have to change, right? How you are also thinking and your business processes. Let me give you examples here. I think from a Microsoft perspective and even some of the ISVs that I'm working now, think GitHub Copilot have released. We have produced more code in the last year than in the last 3 years combined. And when I look at some of my startups, ISVs, we call them, that they are purely develop focused. The development that those companies are not able to produce, the speed of how they are making the new releases and changes on the software is just phenomenal, right? And then ultimately you need to be on top of innovation to be able to compete. So I always say the same thing, like if you are like a small company in retail, maybe you manage to sell shoes, you really need to step on top. And if you're using the same AI, as your competitor, how you're going to differentiate. And I think that's something that I'm going to talk now, right? How is that differentiation if I'm using AI or not, and what AI, right? A lot of customers come, it's like, what AI? Or even in over the weekend, right? Like I'll get a lot of my friends like asking, well, what now? And look, I always think that it comes to two things, right? We know now that obviously Claude is now a bit more like it's maybe scoring a bit better than OpenAI, and obviously models are like but also depending on where you're looking at it, and models are important, chips are important, performance is important, but ultimately I think what really helps you scale AI is your intelligence and trust in where you are investing on, right? Intelligence, and that's the example on the shoe shop that I was just mentioning before, it needs to be relevant to your data, right? Like if I am using AI and you're using AI, so what? What is that differentiation? That differentiation is your IP, your data, your company, how you go to market, enhance with that AI. That's the difference, right? So you really need to ground you and know you. And trust, ultimately, you mentioned it before, John, like number 2, compliance, right? Like trust. So it's not that it needs to be an enterprise grade, but it's also how I'm going to manage all those agents that I was talking before, right? How is that trust is super important. And that's our unique differentiation. If you're considering us, we are not an LLM. We are a multimodal platform that allow you to use the best model at the time, depending on the task that you're trying to provide. So right now, I use either Claude, I use OpenAI. There is different models that are going to be continue to come. If you're using Foundry, and maybe here I'm going very product specific, we have over 11,000 LLM models that you can use, right? Because if one, I always say this word wrong in English, leapfrog, I think it is the word, leapfrog the other one, then you really have a support there so that you can use and pivot depending on the task you're trying to do. So I'm going to run through the following slides because I think it really grounds that intelligence and trust, so that intelligence, is very important, and that's why we build Work IQ, and that is really important because it really grounds, is that layer that knows you. So what it means is you are using your Microsoft 365 subscription, so that's your Word, your all your documents, PowerPoint, etc. It knows you where you are. So it's very incredible for me when, I go and talk to my Copilot. It already knows that I am grounded on SMB in Australia, New Zealand, and on AI business solutions, specifically Copilot and Copilot Studio. That will be my remit. And all the work that it does is around that, which is pretty phenomenal. The second point I built is on security. Again, it not only has that enterprise connection, but it also helps you with an observability around agents. And I just want to land a video now where you will see what Agent 365 is. And again, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that technology, but essentially it's the single pane of glass that is going to allow you to monitor agents on a real time, monitor agents, whether it comes from our platform or whether it comes outside other AIs. It's going to help you to monitor shadow AI. It's going to help you monitor and give policies around, hey, I want you to use this agent, or I'm going to lock this capability in this line of business, but in this other line of business, I'm going to help you and I'm going to give you that much support. So let me kick it off for you to get a quick idea of what that looks like.
AI agents are becoming part of everyday work, helping teams move faster, automate tasks, and scale ideas. The big question is, how do you keep it all secure, compliant, and under control? The good news is, you don't need to start from scratch. Give agents the same tools as your users. Extend your existing infrastructure, apps, and protections to agents, leveraging familiar capabilities tailored to their needs. With Microsoft Agent 365, every agent is registered, visible, and governed, all in one place. The result? Strong security, enhanced confidence, and a simpler path to scalable AI.
So there you go. That's Agent 365. And that's what we have, look, and that's talking a little bit of what is our kind of like frontier product lineup that really helps you to really have that from a product perspective. It will be what we call Microsoft 365 E7, which it has your productivity and your security. It has your Copilot or AI, and it also helps you understand and monitor your agents. And obviously, it gives you that sort of intelligence on the back of it. So that's kind of it. Again, I know some of you might want to go a bit deeper, and that's okay. We can do that in the next call. And some of you might be thinking, okay, what next, right? What from this discussion? First of all, I think what really is real is, what about my business, right? Because your business is what makes you different and what makes you stand out. So check here in use cases to see, okay, by industry, how we have reshaped some of those companies to become more frontier. Second, if you want to go into your AI readiness and understand where I am on my readiness, am I ready? How is my data going? Check in this link, AI Readiness Assessment, and it will give you this free. So go in there and check your AI Readiness Assessment and see where you're tracking. If you want to go more about agents and you want to leverage some of the template agents that we have built and some factory agents, click here. You have two links. And by the way, I'm assuming these slides are going to be shared after the presentation. So ensure that you get these links up and running. And lastly, if you are like, hey, I really like what I heard, but I really don't know where to start, and I really want Microsoft and Sentrian to support me, please reach out to Doug. He will be able to reconnect you with either your account manager if you have one, or whether or you are new into Sentrian and into Microsoft and you want to know more. I'm sure they will be able to support you. So with that, I think that's the end of my section. But now if anyone has some questions, please post it on the chat. I know there is more content coming up in today's webinar and some demos, which will be very exciting. But yeah, it was really nice to meet you all and to thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Adi. That was really good. And I know we kind of sprung this on everyone, but it was a late-minute addition. I just thought we had to get Adi to give us the latest news because, again, like you said, this is evolving so quickly. I know when Jaeden and I and some of the team are doing these presentations, we can't recycle some of the things we did just only a month ago. So it's always good to have you sort of giving us that the latest evolution of the product suite. So thank you again so much
No
for your
worries.
time.
And what is coming is really exciting as well with cohort, autopilots, how we think about Scout. Like there is a lot of things coming up, which I'm sure we can unpack as we go into the following months. So thank you.
Thanks. And yeah, just want to confirm with everyone, we will send you all these links that Eddie has just mentioned in the slide deck as well. So thanks again for that. And we publish a blog post on our past events page as well, which will have more details. So it's very easy to come back to. But again, please check all your emails, anyone who's registered for today as well, just because we will be following up with whatever email that you have provided us. So next up is Jaeden. If you have any questions again for Eddie right now, let us know. We can hopefully answer them at the end. Eddie might have to go shortly to her next meeting as well. So in case she doesn't get the chance to answer it personally today, we will always follow up with her and get the latest answer to any of your questions. So without further ado, Jaeden, we were going to go, the next segment is to, we're actually doing a AI and training course actually in Brisbane for the public very shortly. So we thought, well, this would be a good chance to show you maybe a smaller version of what people would get for a full day's training. So Jaeden is going to go and screen share and show you in real time some of the basics of the Copilot suite and some of the products that Microsoft supports. So over to you, Jaeden, and thanks again, Eddie.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Eddie. And that was a very good presentation. So obviously I'm going to be covering some of the usage of Copilot, but that was a really, really good overview. What makes Copilot different to ChatGPT, I think, is really the question that pops up the most at the moment, especially in our webinars and our travels. And it's a pretty easy answer, to be honest. Like ChatGPT, it's a great platform, but what it's missing is that connection to your data, even just your work life. And that's where Copilot kind of fills the gap. So in a moment, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go through some of the features and functions that you can do with Copilot. And we'll have a very quick look at one of the frontier agents, which is a work in progress, but it is super, super impressive. And it's a great show of what is to come. And that's obviously called Cowork. So if any of you are familiar with Claude Cowork, Copilot is releasing its own version of that, and it is very impressive. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen here so that we can go through this. And I hope that it's all visible. I've zoomed it in as much as I can, but this is our little demo environment that I've got set up with some of the data that we're going to query with Copilot here. And you'll see that I'm sitting on a new chat screen at the moment. So this will be the main screen that you're probably most common with Copilot. It has had a bit of a facelift lately, and it kind of threw me because it did just kind of drop, but it is looking a lot more polished and a lot more streamlined these days, which is really, really nice. You'll notice as well that there's a new feature called Work IQ, and that's sitting right now up in the top left-hand corner there. And this helps Copilot leverage your work information to provide its answers. You don't have to use it. In fact, if I click on that Work IQ button, that will turn it off and switch this new chat into more of an online chat like you would actually get with ChatGPT. But the Work IQ does mean that we're, like I said, leveraging anything in our Microsoft ecosystem. So that's on SharePoint, Teams, anything really, even recorded meetings. So if you've recorded and transcribed certain meetings you've had on Teams, you can even dig up that information as well, which is really, really nice. And what makes Work IQ different to the previous Copilot integrations is while Graph kind of served, which is the old, or part of the old background technology for Copilot, it kind of served up the results as, hey, this is the SharePoint results, this is the Teams results. Work IQ goes one step further and can actually understand the people involved, who you commonly work with, your most common tasks and things like that. So it's more personalized now, rather than just digging up everything that is related to your search query or your query in general. It is more personalized. And the first thing that we're going to actually have a look at here is one of my favorites, which is the second one down in the top left, and that's the search function. So I'm going to skip over the chat because these actually have a little bit of overlap at the moment, and I much prefer to use search. It will dig up almost anything that I need to across my platforms. So if I'm looking for something that was even mentioned in a meeting, if I'm looking for a meeting outcome, if I'm looking for a particular email or a document in SharePoint, something like that, this will dig that up. So for example, I could say, summarize the recent meeting with Jay, Project Spark. So this was just a fake meeting that we held just between the demo environment and myself, and it was recorded and transcribed. So you'll see here that we do get a long list of results here, but we also do get a summary. So this is a summary based on the meeting itself, which gives us like the organisers and the times, and basically an overview of the decisions and the summary of the meeting itself and what was discussed. On the right-hand side, we actually see where these results came from. So in this instance, it was the calendar, Outlook Mail, and SharePoint. We even get the agreed actions and things like that, key risks. It's really, really good. So I don't have to go in and I don't have to find that transcript or dig around in Teams. I can literally just ask Copilot. And then at the bottom of this, you can even continue this discussion. So we could message Copilot to further refine what we want to see out of this and what it wants to serve up. But let's say I need to summarize. I just want to see what old Austin here and myself have spoken about over the last 6 months. So that will go beyond this meeting and bring in emails, Teams messages, and things like that. Now, I don't have any Teams messages between myself and Austin, but I do have some emails that we've just sent backwards and forwards. And that it is going to basically summarize that for me again. And it's even going to give you context in line. So where did it get this information from? So we can go digging further into that.
Hey, so Jaeden, just to quickly interrupt. You know how Ada was mentioning she was on maternity leave and then she came back, she had to catch up on all this work. Could you potentially use this kind of function for a summary of like what happened in your absence, for example?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so this is one way of doing it, but there are actually a few other ways as well. So if we need to be more platform specific, you can actually do very similar things in Outlook itself. So in Outlook, you've got the Copilot pop out off the right here. So again, you could actually just ask it to do exactly that, just in the Copilot chat. What I was going to demonstrate as part of this actually in Outlook is the ability to take entire threads, email threads, and schedule a meeting and summarize. So you'll notice here on the right-hand side that my Copilot has this little pop-up here with, it's got a little X next to it. So that actually knows and is aware that I have this email chain selected because that's the subject line of that email chain. And if I move to a different one, it'll actually change that. What that means is whatever I click on in Outlook, it is going to ground its response based on that. Now we can click that X and remove it and just get a more generalized response. But for the most part, I mean, 9 times out of 10, this is what you're going to want. You've clicked on an email chain or you've clicked on something similar like that, and you just basically need to query Copilot off of that. And what we can do is quite simply summarize this email chain for a start.
I had this issue just while it's happening just today, actually. We had a really long email chain. I'm like, where was that thing that person referred me to, last month? And I manually had to go through all emails and figure out, which exact one it was. So this is a really handy little feature.
The other thing we can do while we wait for this is this is actually a meeting. You'll see that little calendar icon there. I can't hover over it, but that means that it was a meeting chain, and that might be why this is struggling to give me a response here. If I move down to this email chain here, let's do a new chat, start that. So there we go. That's a pre-canned input there. So we've got summarized this email, and we can just click on that and it will bring up summary. Much better. There we go. But what we can actually do out of this whole email chain is we know here that we basically still need to discuss this. This is an open discussion in an email chain, and we want to move this to a meeting. We want to take this out of the emails. It's too noisy. We actually have a schedule with Copilot button at the top. So we can actually click on that there. Copilot's going to help us get all of this ready. So we've got, it's pre-filled the subject here. We've got the attendees, which are based on the recipients of the emails. We can even let Copilot reschedule the event if conflicts arise, and you can set the acceptable times there. You've got the ability to turn facilitator on, and obviously we would cover that off in a different session, but that is another very nice feature. It's basically a collaborative meeting agent that you can have. But not only that, it's actually created an agenda for us based on that email context. And if you've got Teams messages and even more email history, other meetings that you've had or within this particular chain of events, it will include that in the agenda as well. So I'm going to select to insert that so that we've got all of that there ready to go. Really, really easy. You'll notice Copilot's open on the right-hand side as well. So what we can actually do in here is start to ask it about the meeting. So, you know, what do I need to know ahead of this meeting? Can you help me draft smarter questions to raise during the meeting? So we can basically prepare for it straight out of the box in the invite that's going to go out.
This is pretty good, Jaeden. I'm just thinking like maybe the phrase "take this offline" will be defunct because you can do it in like literally one click, or that email should have been a meeting, or vice versa. That meeting should have been an email. You can easily
I mean,
go
to be honest,
the two.
you could do this during the meeting as well if you really wanted to with Copilot. So it is very much a defunct action. So there we go. So outcomes of this meeting, it knows that this particular meeting hasn't taken place. So that was a bit of a silly question for me to click, but it does try and help anyway, which is really nice. Now, if I was to send that off, which I will do now. This will appear in our calendar here, but what we can do is just open this up again. So this is the one that is actually scheduled. And then, so let's pretend that this is a meeting invite that's come from someone else. This isn't one that I've created. It's come from my manager, but we can actually say, like, what do I need to know ahead of this meeting? And it should be able to dig this up out of the context it's got from the emails and things like that. And again, this is just more of a way or a better way to help prepare for what is coming. I don't have to frantically search through my emails and my Teams messages to get ready for this meeting. I can just query Copilot straight off the bat. And as you can see there, it's just going to go through and summarize basically everything from the context that it can access.
So it's like a meeting pre-briefing, basically, but an automated one that you can do really quickly.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's great.
Like I said, you can carry this through before and after the meeting. So this isn't just isolated to this particular point of context.
No, that's great, because I know a lot of us are like sort of late to meetings or need a really quick sort of context before we get onto them. So that's a really handy tool.
Definitely. Now you'll notice as well, I have these little arrows in my inbox. So another really cool new feature from Copilot is the ability to prioritize your emails and even your calendar invites as well. So at the moment, I don't think I've got anything special set up, but in the settings of Outlook under Copilot, we've got these new buttons here, which one of them is prioritize, and that's where this little feature comes from. So we can let Copilot prioritize my email on arrival and even generate an AI summary in the little subject line, which you may have noticed just here. An update on Project Spark's cost forecast is provided. So that there is actually an AI summary. That is not a subject or anything like that. And we can even enable the ability to set a lower priority level. And then we can use natural language to define what Copilot lists as higher or lower priority. So we can say, like I have here, it mentions project automation, it's from Jaeden, we can set that as high priority. Lower priority may be exactly what it's there, exactly what it says there. So it's from a social media site, or it might just be like a non-urgent SharePoint news post or something like that. It can be almost anything, and Copilot will be able to prioritize that in your inbox. Another nifty feature in Outlook is that you do get custom instructions that are different to Copilot itself. So, and obviously I've got just a little bit of a fun one there, which is like talk like a pirate, which is a very common one for people to put in. And that is different to your Copilot application. So you're able to have Copilot in Outlook draft the messages with a different set of instructions, a different tone, a different length, a different greeting, and that sort of thing, which is actually really handy, because when you're using the Copilot app, you want those instructions to be more about what you're searching for, more about the output of your business information. Whereas this, you want more geared towards how you're drafting emails, which isn't the same thing. And then we've got calendar instructions as well. So again, this is what we were talking about just before. So we can create instructions with natural language, and it will actually take you over to the Copilot chat these days to help you fill that out. And it's very handy. It's starting to fill out a lot. It's a lot easier now to manage a massive inbox and start to push the things that you need to see to the top. And you could even have Copilot schedule a prompt at the end of each day to go back and outline what you missed based on priority. You know, was it from your manager? Did you miss an email from your manager? Did you miss a high importance email from this client or that client? And it will do that every day at the same time for you. So you get a little bit of a summary. But very quickly, because I know we're running out of time, I wanted to jump into the co-work side of things. So as I mentioned, it's relatively new. It is still in active development, but it is very, very cool. It's looking very, very promising. It runs on the Claude models. So as was mentioned in the first part of this webinar, Microsoft is becoming model agnostic to a degree. So you'll have availability or access to like Mistral and Opus and OpenAI's models. This is running on Anthropic's Claude. So what we can actually start to do here is look at tasks from an agentic point of view, rather than just having an AI chatbot that serves you an answer or does things in its little chat window. We can start to be more productive and proactive to how we're completing work. We can even schedule these tasks. So a really, really good example of what I created this morning was a scheduled task which went out to all of the Microsoft Copilot RSS feeds, pulled together all of the news and started creating basically a news digest that it would run. But it keeps an index, so it knows what's old, what it's served before, what's changed in terms of its status update, and it's able to then include that again in that news post update. Then it just comes through as an email to certain staff members to keep on top of things, basically. And what we've got in the demo environment is something a little bit different. So I had created just a make-believe logo here for this particular company. And we have in its SharePoint tenancy some HR documents. We want to update all of those documents to include that logo. What this can actually do, and you'll see a long list of reasoning here of what it's trying to complete, or what it is completing, I should say, all of its tasks. It's basically you give it a task and it will keep going until it is completed. Sorry about that. So
you could do something similar with like T's and C's, for example, sometimes in the footer, like you have all these documents, right. And like, can you just include this new T and C in the bottom, and it will do a similar thing, right? But in this case, it's an image addition or replacement.
That's right. Not everyone has a template that they generate those documents from. Some people might have individual documents spread out across SharePoint everywhere. And that's exactly right. What we've sort of done here is we've taken these documents, these fabricated documents, and said, I need you to add the logo to these in the header. And it has, in fact, done that. It can't write them back to SharePoint. Currently, there's no capability. That doesn't mean it never will have, but right now it is just a bit of a safety thing. So we can have a look at these now at the output. It's still open in Copilot right here, so I can sort of demo these, and there's the logo in the header there. So that is all of the documents that we uploaded yesterday. It's gone and added that logo to, no problem at all. And all I have to do is grab all of those out of this chat and put them back into SharePoint. Now, obviously, there will be a path eventually to put them back into SharePoint. And in fact, you probably could do that if you had a shortcut or something like that in your OneDrive, because it is all driven off of OneDrive still, especially the co-work side of things. So you do need that set up on your device as well. But it is looking like a real promising agentic add-on to Copilot. The other thing we can do is organize my inbox. I had a bit of a play around with this one yesterday, actually, and it was pretty scary. Scary brilliant, I should say. So we got help me organize my inbox, review from the last 24 hours and show me a summary. But then it will also, this isn't the one I thought it was, hang on. So there was triage.
So, and this is in the Frontier system. So this is kind of pre-release,
Yes.
correct, Jaeden? So not everyone has access to this, just yourself, or how does that get activated?
It is available. So you do need to your organization needs to register as a Frontier organization, so you get early access to a lot of these more powerful features because they're not in full release yet. And then it is available to find under the agents menu in Copilot there. It may be something that your admin has to enable. It may not be on by default.
Hey, we just have a question, Jaeden, if you don't mind taking
Yeah.
one from the audience. Okay, we have a question from Melissa, I think it is. Melissa, what is the best way to set up Copilot on our current email system? Is that a licensing thing, do you think, or?
It is likely licensing. So, I mean, Copilot is available in a free version. So it's just not based on your. I think the limitation right now is that it doesn't ground itself in your business data. If you have Outlook, if you have a business subscription licensed for 365, it should already be there for the most part. There shouldn't be any additional configuration at all. The other side of it may be Outlook New versus Outlook Classic. So Outlook Classic has made leaps and strides recently in bringing a lot of the Copilot features in. Some of the buttons are a little bit different, but it is ultimately there. And a lot of what you can do in the new version of Outlook, you can just do in the Copilot chat window in Outlook Classic, which for some may be easier.
Perfect. So just to iterate, you have a Microsoft license, but then sometimes you have to upgrade that to the full 365 Copilot license, correct? Which is at additional cost. So some organizations don't always do that for every single employee because it does incur an expense, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. You can see here from CoWork. So I did find that ready to go input that I was looking for, basically to go through my inbox in a zero inbox focus sprint. So it will try and help you get to a zero message inbox, essentially, suggesting rules to set up, filters and things like that. It's actually really, really cool. I don't know if we've got enough time left to watch this out because it does take a little bit longer. It's much, much more involved and feature rich. But like I said, it gives you a really good idea of what is soon to be capable within Copilot itself. Let me see. Hopefully
Thanks,
this is
Jaeden.
coming through.
That's pretty good. We have another question here, just while we're going.
Yep.
Any limitations on using Claude within Copilot as space LLM versus using Claude natively, aka 365 integration? So I think there's like using Claude, like you just said, within the Microsoft ecosystem versus using Claude externally.
I suppose the only way to look at that is that Claude in Copilot has a different harness. It has the harness that is Copilot. So it's ultimately going to still align with what Microsoft need to achieve with your data, what they're allowed to do with your data and that sort of thing. It isn't, I suppose if you're familiar with the Claude application, it's going to be very different to that. There's obviously more that you can do within there based on their own connectors and their own features that they built into that harness. Whereas Claude in Copilot, it is still Copilot for the most part because that's the wrapper that it's in. Yeah.
And just quickly, what do you mean by a harness, just in case people are unaware?
Yeah, sorry. So the harness is the application that you see and you interact with. So at the moment, we're sitting in the Copilot app, and Claude is the Claude app. OpenAI's is ChatGPT. So that's the harness. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So here we go. This is coming through now. So we can see here it's gone through and scanned my whole inbox and outlined what we need to do to try and get to a zero message inbox. And it's going to give me a plan here. It may even suggest some rules to set up. It's even going to suggest drafts to respond to messages that I haven't responded to. It goes through the entire lot. Schedule a meeting for this one. So really good.
That's great, Jaeden. I'm just conscious of time as well.
I was going to say, I'll stop there. I'll hand it back to you now.
No, these questions are great.
Stop sharing my screen.
No, not at all. I just thought if anyone else has any other questions or specific to your use cases that, Jaden's here to live demo or potentially show an example of them. So please, don't be afraid. Put them in the chat or Q&A. We had 2 really great questions as well. Is there anything else you're going to show that we perhaps don't have time for that people could learn?
No, I think that was pretty much everything. So obviously we will go over that more in depth in our other sessions, particularly the one that is coming up, being that it is more of a training session. So we would go more in depth with how to configure this, where to find it, what use cases you can get out of it as well.
That was great. No, thanks very much, Jaeden, for showing some use cases that any of us could use in our daily work life. And that's kind of how we designed these webinars, a bit of a sample of what to expect if you do sort of contract us to do training for your internal teams as a group, which we've done quite a few times before, or the public session. So if there's 1 or 2 of you who want to sort of learn more about these basics, we're just scraping the top of what you would learn in a full day training. So please get in contact if you need some training for your team members. And yeah, just coming up, like what AI services does Sentrian offer? I think, as Adelaida mentioned before, the assessment or reassessment of where you are as an organization before you implement a larger program. We're calling it our AI Readiness Compass Assessment. It's a really good one just to sort of reground yourself in what you could use AI for in your organization. We do some fractional AI officer roles as well. So if you don't have a dedicated AI leader within the organization, or even just want to supplement that leader, we are doing a couple of fractional roles as well. And again, I just mentioned the Copilot training. If you need anything in that, please get in touch. And this is a QR code if you want to scan this today, but on Thursday, 16th of July in Brisbane, we have a full day training session, fully catered all day, so you can learn as a group. We're actually filling up very fast, and we're still a month out, so we might even have 2 sessions if this is too popular, and it's proving very popular already. So you can use a QR code right now to go to that. Alternatively, on our website, there is a page as well. If you go to services on the sentrian.com.au and services, you'll see the AI training as well. So again, we have those 2 offerings, the on-site with your company group training, or the public one that we're doing here in Brisbane on the 16th of July. So again, now, is there any other further questions? I know we sort of answered a couple as we went along, which is perfect. It's more interesting that way. But does anyone else have some questions for Jaeden? They can be as specific as you like or as general as you like. There's no unintelligent questions because we're all different maturities here with using these systems. So please send those through. Okay, I'll just double check the chat before we wrap this up. But again, check your emails because, again, maybe something triggers during the week and you want us to answer it. So that's the best way to get in contact with you. Okay, I think that's probably it. But look, if you did enjoy this session, please let us know on Google. If you scan that QR code, we're really interested in your feedback so we can do more of these, and always give us ideas for the next ones that we want to cover. So we're always looking for your feedback to put into our next webinar and physical series. Yeah, thanks, Greta. That was great. I'm glad we could answer your question and everyone else. So I'll leave it there. But yeah, again, check your emails and we'll be in touch with a review of all the content in case you need to watch it again. So thank you, everyone, for attending, and we will see you next time.